Okay, thanks for joining my channel again and checking out another one of my videos. This one I'm going to scrap out a combination of an old TV and radio from the 1980s. As you can see, this is the one we talked about last week. I was going to scrap out this and something else, or it was a choice, and that's the one that won out. It got the most amount of votes, so in the comments, so this is the one that's going to get scrapped out. So we'll start off by just removing them. Looking forward to scrapping this one out, because I like scrapping out older stuff just to see what was in them back in the day, what people used to use. So first off, I'm just going to cut the cord off. So we'll just have a bit of a electrical cord that can go in with your insulated copper wire, and you'll have some brass here, so again you can cut them out and put them with your brass, but I'll do a different video on them someday when I'm talking about brass. So as we can see here, we have a lot of screws, so I'm going to do my usual. I'm going to take a few screws out on video, and the rest we'll take out off screen. We'll just pause it and we'll come back when they're all off, because, and as I said before, I'm sure everyone knows how to take out screws at this stage if you've been scrapping out for a while. And so it's one of the things that you have to put up with as a scrapper, that most items will have a lot of screws in them, but and some of them will be rounded like that one was, so we'll just have to try different screwdrivers, try ones with smaller heads, stuff like that, to see if we can. So again, no, this is the bit that takes up the time, is when you have screws that are rounded slightly. So that one seems to fit a lot better. So I'm expecting to find mainly copper, shred steel, stuff like that in it. I'm not expecting to find much stuff for gold recovery. Now again, I might be surprised, but I doubt it. It was mainly a TV that was inside of this, and a radio. So I might find some valves, some old valves and stuff. Sometimes you can sell them on eBay for a few pound. Again, this radio, I had it up on eBay, couldn't get rid of it, so I decided it was one that was going to be scrapped out, because again, scrap is going to be the lowest value that you're going to get for anything. So it's just a matter of seeing if you can sell it first. If not, then rather than just dump it, scrap it out and see if you can make a few extra pound from it, rather than just throw it away. So we'll just have a look here and see. Will this release the back plates for me? So again, there's a screw somewhere else holding it in, which you will always find on most of the older stuff. You'll find screws hidden all over the place. So I'm going to pause it there, going to come back once I have removed all the screws. Okay, so we have removed all the screws from it. So I don't see any more left on the side, so it's a matter now of trying to pry it away and see where it actually comes apart from each other. Because some of these, so we have a little bit of a, there we go, that's how I'm going to put it. The case will lift away, so that looks like a nice chunk of aluminium in there. This TV or this unit has not been plugged in for years, so I'm not worried about electric shocks, to be honest. So I'm just going to start disconnecting some of these cables. Let me zoom out there a bit, get a bit better view. So as you can see here, there's a lot of cables just connected here, so we're just going to start by removing them. So anywhere I see there's a connection, some of them may need to be cut off, but we'll just see. Okay, so we'll just cut these away. So we have more cables down here. So we have a nice little transformer that I can see, which should be a bit of copper in, hopefully. Just want to cut these away from each other so we can separate them into two different. So we'll start with this part. So from what I can see, we have a little transformer in here. So again, this can be put in with your transformer copper or your copper transformers, and or you can try and strip it out if you wish to strip it out. Plenty of people up there show with videos on stripping transformer. I think Ian Matthews might have something up there. So if you want to check out some Moose Scrapper, I'm sure we'll have something up there on it. So just check out some of their videos. So as I was thinking, there's not going to be that much for gold recovery in here. It's going to be mainly just copper and aluminium. That'll be the two main things I'll be looking for off this scrap out. So all my videos aren't just about gold. That's one of my, as I say, that's one of the things I do take out is gold from the computers, stuff like that. But I also take copper and aluminium. Steel I don't bother with, to be honest, because the value of it is too low, and even at the moment aluminium prices aren't great and copper prices aren't great, but it's still worth taking out. So that's a nice bit of weight on that, and we'll just cut the wires here at the back. So there we have a little copper transformer. I'm sure it's copper that's under here because of the age of it. Just one thing I don't like, usually that's why I don't usually take these apart, is because of all the tape and stuff and the amount of time it takes. But that's, yeah, there's copper inside of there. So we put that aside. What can I see here? We have a board with some aluminium on it. Might get a nice little bit of aluminium out of this. So again, we just see where the screws are holding it in. So here we have a little power board of sorts. Again, some aluminium on it, so I can take them tabs here, and usually it'll just straighten the tabs out. Get the pliers first. And anywhere I see a tab, I'll try and just straighten it out a bit, so it might allow this to remove from the actual there's another tab somewhere, or it could be soldered on. There we go. So there's our little bit of aluminium, and we have a little MOSFET on it as well. My screwdriver again. So again, there should be a little bit of copper inside of the MOSFETs. Sometimes there can be gold. I found one or two which had gold, but not that many. So I'll put that aside for copper. When you burn them, inside of here will be a little bit of copper usually. So that's a nice bit of aluminium. And then we have, what else is on that board? We have another bit of aluminium here. So seems to be a screw here, but it is welded or soldered, so I probably won't be able to remove that straight off, but maybe I will. Okay, so we've another little bit of aluminium, and just having a quick look at the board itself. There's nothing that I would usually go any further taking off, so that's kind of it on that. That's for that one. Let's get my screwdriver again. So we have a speaker here as well, so if you wish you can remove that speaker. I'll just remove the wires off that later. We don't need to see that. Now this is the main board. As you can see, there's plenty of dust on it, plenty of wires, so we'll start removing again some wires from it as we can, so we can get a bit more access to it. So we might just need to go cutting again, so the easiest way is just to possibly cut these wires if they don't disconnect. So that's not too bad. So again, just some insulator wire that can be put in with your insulator wire. You nip the ends off these and just put them in with your insulator wire. Just try and get this wire snapped. There we go. So just some more wire. Anywhere you can remove it from, we'll try and remove it. I see a nice IC chip there actually, so there might be possibly a bit of gold in that. So we'll just try and remove any screws we see from the remainder of this board. So another IC chip here, so we have an IC here and an IC here, another little IC chip here. So there is a small bit of gold content in this, so them IC chips will probably be a bit higher grade than the newer ones, so there should be a little bit more gold hopefully in them. I possibly have to remove, maybe go to the back here first actually, and see if I can remove this, the actual little TV part itself, the screen, the CRT part. So again, just be careful with the disposal of these. These contain lead, other gases, stuff like that. I see another IC chip actually while I'm here as well. There's another IC chip here. Or an EEPROM chip is probably the proper word for them. EEPROM chips. Some of them can have a little gold window on them, but this ones don't. So let me see, can we get access to the back of that? We can't. Just to try and get the screws from behind are going to be the issue. Be careful. That can be quite sharp there, you could end up cutting yourself badly. Should have gloves on. Let me remove the pins. Okay. So we might get a little bit more access. So nothing major on that, we'll just cut that away so we can get a better look at it. So a few little switches, sometimes these little switches can have a bit of silver in them, and that's about it. There's nothing else on that board that I'd be looking to take off, so I'll just remove them switches, that'll be about it. See if I can get access to this. That's what I need to do. Now it's giving me a bit more room to work with. So we can take off this remainder of this CRT and then we can get a look at the board. This is we're going to have a copper yoke, as everyone knows, from whoever scrapped out old CRTs when they were being replaced by flat screens that were everywhere. And there would have been a copper yoke on all the TVs. That's what most people took off it, the rest of it, and there was also copper wire that ran along it. So we'll have a closer look at this miniature one and we'll see if there's anything similar. So there's our copper yoke. So a nice little bit of copper around that. That usually just twists off. So we'll just try and twist it off. Okay, we might need to cut this one off. There's a few clips here that we can remove it from later. I'll do that on later. We don't, because everyone's probably seen copper yokes being taken apart at this stage. You can see there's a few clips here that need to be released, and once you release them clips it should let it come out. So we'll have a look at that in a few minutes. We might come back to it as a little spring, a little bit of wire, not copper wire, and that is it. So that's our main part of the copper here out of this scrap out, will be that. I have another little bit of copper just spotted here, which is nice to find. So again, we'll just cut. That's a nice little bit of copper wire. So a nice little bit of weight to that as well. So just leave that aside, into the copper bucket with that. So that's copper. I'll just cut some more wires from around this first. To give us a bit more access. Okay, so we'll start off with the smaller one here. So again, with some copper spools here on the end of this, which can be removed once I take out the board. So we'll just see if we can remove any screws that are visible. So we have a few screws here. So the old stuff always had plenty of copper anyhow, that didn't spare the copper. Okay, that screw seems to be doing nothing. Then we have a little bit of brass in here. I can see the brass on this. So again, we'll just remove the, you can get the nuts to remove from it. So again, so just some wire. So that's just a bit of plastic, but that's an actual bit of brass there, and we'll just get this one off as well. You can see that there's a nut just holding around the brass. So brass prices are much the same as copper around here at the moment. There's a bit cheaper, a bit less than copper, but they're worth collecting up because you'll find brass in plugs, you'll find them in a lot of other things. So let's see now if we can. Something else still holding it, this button. So again, you can see the brass here. So we've got some brass here and here, and they'll just have to be knocked out or broken out of the plastic. So I'll do that at a later date, or can I do it now? There we go, a little bit of brass. Go with your brass. Again, the same here. A bit more awkward because there's not much room to pull. There we go. So again, we have brass. So a nice little bit of brass. So you can put that in with your brass. Have a quick look at the remainder of this board. So the main thing we're looking for here again was the copper from here, and we'll just remove the screws from underneath. So we have an awkward one now, which so that's the little bit of copper, I think. Just have a look and see if it is copper or is it just, yeah, so it's hard to see if that's copper. So I'll put it in with copper, but it's because it's covered in a coating, but it wouldn't be bright. It'll be in with your insulated copper. I'll put that. Again, we have some wire. Just have a quick look at this board. So again, some switches there which should have the silver contacts inside, and a little bit of copper down here. You can see the copper here, a little spoolie of copper. You just get pull that off. We'll have a look at it. So that was attached to a little bit of wire. So again, a little bit of copper, it all adds up. You're probably looking at that going, wasn't worth the effort, but all adds up when you put it in with the weight. So I'll take them apart for silver connections, usually inside of them. So they'll be processed with my silver, and that'll be it on that. So then the last board, well, there's actually another board in underneath there again. So we'll just remove these screws. So again, we have the capacitor in around here. A lot of dust, a lot of dirt, because this is since the 80s. So it has collected a lot of stuff over time. So we need to try and find where all the screws are. So looks like there's something underneath being, oh, it's held on to something else. So what I might do is I might pause it while I look for the screws, and I'll come back once I've removed all the screws. Okay, so we have removed the screws, and that has given us access to the board. So that again, we just throw that plastic to a side. And what we have here is the main board of it. So we have a little bit of aluminium over here, which is fairly loose, so I don't think it'll take much to take that off. It's probably just held by a clip. It is this far side. Another chunk of aluminium here by the looks of it. Could be steel. So we'll just pull that bit of aluminium off. Here it is. And some wires attached to the back here are holding it. So again, we have another little MOSFET holding that on. So I can feel it spinning on this side. So I need to get something to grip it. I don't have time for this. We'll just rip it off. Sure to just rip off here in a second for me. There we go. So another wire here. Okay, so we'll just remove that MOSFET later because I just want to get a look at the IC chips on it. So that's the main IC chip here that I'll remove and put that with my gold recovery ICs. I have another one here, well that's EPROMs, another one here. That seems to be it that I'll take for gold recovery from this board here. I'm sure there's other bits there that I should be taking off. We have another one over here, another EPROM here or IC, another one here, and that's about it. So that's that board, and the last board is this one, and again we have a little IC chip on it or EPROM. So I got a few bits for gold recovery, copper, aluminium and brass have been the other little finds inside of this, so they all add up. If you can fill a little buckets or barrels of copper and barrels of brass and stuff like that over the year, it's a nice little bit of money at the end of the year for yourself. It's a hobby. It's not my full-time job, as I always say. It's just something I do in my spare time, scrap stuff out. So this has a ribbon on it of sorts, whatever this is attached to. So it's attached to a second board, which is, I don't know how it's been held in because there's no screws, so we'll just try and pop it off. There we go. And again we have a bit of wire. Okay, so that was a little screen that lit up. So that was probably the tuner. So you could see what channel was on or whatever numbers of channel or something like that. Must have been for that. So that's on a little board. And again we have a little touchpad here. So we'll just have a look on that and see if there's any silver contacts. There's actually gold contacts, is there? Yes. There's no, silver. So we have silver contacts underneath here. So again we have little silver contacts on that. So that's another nice little find. So we can cut that off and process out the silver. Again we'd have the EPROM or the IC chip, whichever you want to call it. And that's it. So looking back on what we've scrapped out here, we've got some copper. We have a transformer. Again, a copper bearing transformer. We have some aluminium. We have some little brass pieces. So again, some little connectors, brass connectors. So they're going to with my brass. Some little connectors with silver on them. We have the IC chips. We have the copper yoke on here. And what have we here? Anything here that I just caught my eye? Something shiny. Some more brass fittings in here. So we've got little brass wheels in here, so I'll remove them as well. Some more here. Little brass connectors on there. That's it. Underneath that side, as I was saying, is just nothing. So mainly copper wire, some switches for silver, some things. So All in all, it wasn't too bad for the size of the little device that I took apart. I'd say I've got about a half a pound of copper maybe between this, the yoke and my copper wire. The transformer again feels like a pound weight at least. So a pound weight in transformers, a nice hefty one. And a few IC chips. So not too bad. I was expecting much about that. Really, that was about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please give a like, please subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel, and till the next video, keep on looking for the gold and keep on scrapping them items.